But here we are, wave 14. We only have 20 health, and yeah, we're buying the handcuffs. Can't touch this. Can't touch this. Can't touch this. How about a legendary minigun? Will that work? Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. What if we did an entire run of Brotato without getting hit once? What if we channeled our inner Neo in the 1999 thriller The Matrix, dodging around all the bullets, much like Agent Smith and Neo in their epic showdown in that wonderful, wonderful movie? Today, we're going to get to live all our Neo and The Matrix fantasies as we clear D5 without getting hit a single time. Fun little challenge that I have done before and I'm excited to showcase for you here today. Sure, we'll take it, Gummy Berserker. Why the heck not? Really looking for range damage or harvesting there. Do not find either, which is a big bummer, but you always get to pick your weapons here. So that is life of a rogue light. In addition, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about mechanics in this run than I do normally. I do think this is a good time to talk a little bit about how some of the finer edges of this game work. And I promise you by the end of this run, you'll have some information that will help you complete and clear in D5 at a more efficient rate. So excited to kind of talk about that here, as I do think this sort of run lends itself to a few interesting lessons in game mechanics. They just kind of working well to this type of run. Don't want a mushroom. Again, I don't care about defense. I am really looking for range damage. That is a huge priority early on, so I do hope we are rewarded with some range damage choices. You know, Gummy Berserker is not really an item I necessarily love. Ordinarily, I don't think the armor trade-off is necessarily worth it. However, because we're not going to be getting hit this entire run, -1 armor, who cares? Sure, I'll take it. We'll take our armor all the way down to -40 if we need to. You know, this is a fun challenge and something I do think people should just give a shot. I will be using Hunter for this, or sorry, I will be using Ranger for this challenge. I do think thematically Hunter does make some sense. However, you know, I don't really love crossbows. I just don't think they're that fun. So in addition, I don't really love, personally, Hunter as a character. I'm not saying it's a terrible character or anything, but it's not my favorite, so I'm happy to, I'd rather just kind of show off a character I enjoy a little bit more. We'll go and pick up that fertilizer and the tree, again, just to get some other items out on the map. As we are playing Ranger, we will be heavily prioritizing range damage, as we want to get that as high as we can, as quickly as we can, as well as just prioritizing damage in general. When it comes to Brotato, you know, I participate in the subreddit, I participate in the Steam community pages, and I oftentimes see people posting like screenshots. Hey, why did I lose my run, right? They post a screenshot with their loss. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? And oftentimes I'll see people in the comments saying like, hey, you're on wave 16 and you only have 6 armor. Like, that's why you lost. You don't have any lifesteal. That's why you lost, etc., etc. Not enough dodge. And I almost always disagree with those commenters. I don't think they mean to be incorrect. It's just the reality is when it comes to Brotato, you almost never lose because you did not have enough offense, or you did not have enough defense. When it comes to losing in Brotato, you almost always lose because you don't have enough offense. Offense is the key to having good, successful waves. And I do think if you find yourself struggling, getting a little more offense will help your win rate considerably. Brotato is a game where we really can get ahead and keep the enemies, you know, in the ground and off the map, and we can really get our damage to the point where we don't have to dodge as many enemies. We don't have to worry about, you know, getting killed as much because we're doing so much great damage. And I do think if we focus a little bit more on offense, you know, we will clear our runs more efficiently. Again, we almost always lose in Brotato because we don't have enough offense, whether that's engineering, getting not enough of the engineering stat, or a gun-based build, not getting enough range damage. We almost always lose because we don't have enough of those stats, not because we didn't have enough defense. And I do think this will be a good run to kind of showcase that. Don't mind re-rolling aggressively here for range damage because it is so important. And when we do a no-hit run, we do really want speed. I do think speed is quite good. I don't really love the pistol weapon, so I will go ahead and swap off that, as we now have 3 shredders and 3 SMGs, which are a nice kind of, you know, nice kind of combination. When it comes to losing a no-hit run, your biggest challenge is typically not the elites. It's actually just not being able to keep the waves clear enough that you just sort of get overwhelmed and you take a hit from a projectile. That's especially prevalent on waves 14 through 17, and even more so if we get a horde wave, you know, between waves 13 and 17, where those projectile spawning enemies are more prevalent. Because of that, I really like to prioritize a sort of AoE damage, an AoE solution early. Obviously, if we get something like a baby with a beard, that is like one of the best ways to do it. But because of that, I definitely am not hesitant to pick up something like an explosive weapon early, simply because I do think the extra area of effect that provides really does make this a little bit easier. Because we want to make decisions that make this type of challenge run easier on ourselves. Really, really happy there to see some range damage. While I'm not going to prioritize you know, baby with the beards, things like that, or sorry, gentle aliens, I'm not necessarily going to take a white flag. With 3 shredders, I do love dynamite, and I will actually go ahead and take a boxing glove, which is not an item I normally love. But again, because we're doing a no-hit run, getting just a little bit more knockback to keep us safe against enemies like pursuers, etc., I do think is quite good. So I am happy to take a boxing glove, which will also allow us potentially to take some other fun items as well. One of the key things to understand about enemy spawns in this game is how they tend to work. Ordinarily, enemies prefer to spawn away from you, but also where current enemies are not, as in enemies prefer to spawn a little bit away from you and in empty places on the map. So enemies don't prefer, although they can, spawning on enemies that are already on the map. This is an important mechanic to understand, simply because one of the ways we can really play safely is by blowing up a group of enemies and then immediately moving to where that enemies are. Because the game doesn't like to spawn enemies where enemies are already located, when we blow up a group of enemies, we can actually move towards where they were in order to have a little bit of a safe space. This means you usually, not always, but on occasion, you do want to actually move into enemies as you kill them, as there's a good chance that area will be safe where that enemy just was. Happy to get a small magazine there simply because we are playing a ranger. So any type of range damage we get, I think will be really, really good. Here we are on wave 8. Happy to not be playing this on a melee character for once. A lot of my recent runs were more melee focused, as wave 8 is much, and I mean much easier on a melee character. Some of the items that make this a lot easier, again, baby with a beard, just really good AoE, community support. Again, who cares about the negative armor penalty? That's a really strong item. Also would be really happy with like a hunting trophy. I do think hunting trophy works really well on no-hit runs, as it pairs quite well with crits. So a couple items I am looking for. What I also really like about a no-hit run is that it really allows me to take items I don't really love, like Yummy Berserker. It's also really, items like Triangle of Power, which are just a terrible item. Again, if we're not getting hit, sure, we'll take it, right? Who cares? Let's go. So again, I really like doing no-hit runs because it does change the calculus of which items are good and which items are bad by quite a bit. That was quite close. I am playing relatively risky here. You can certainly play safer. Happy with the little frog there, and also happy with some harvesting. And we'll take some more speed, as I do think speed is quite important to ensuring success here. So I have somewhat of an interesting decision. We'll go ahead and combine here and take the rocket launcher, even though I don't necessarily love the rocket launcher. I do think rocket launcher is a decent weapon. I just think of the three sort of main explosive weapons, Shredder is the best, followed by nuclear launcher, and then lastly, we have rocket launcher, which again, I will take on occasion. It's just not something like I'm going out of my way to take, and I do think it is a little bit of an overrated weapon. But that's just my opinion. You are happy, you are welcome to disagree with that. I do think it's a decent weapon. I just prefer Shredders, which I do think are one of the more underrated weapons in the game. I do think they're one of the strongest weapons in the game, as they have an extremely high chance to explode when they pass through enemies at Legendary. In addition, they're able to pass through multiple enemies, so you just get a lot of explosions. It's a super efficient weapon. In addition, when you get an item like Bandana, it increases the amount of opportunities it has to explode. I just think Shredders are a really, really strong item. An item that I would, I just think they're a little underrated. So I'm usually, that's my sort of priority when I'm going explosives. But nuclear launches are just fun, especially if it's something like a plastic explosive. That said, I do like pairing Shredders with weapons like SMGs or other weapons like Obliterators that do really good single target damage, as they do lack a little bit of single target damage. With their percent damage being -9, I'm happy to get that back even, and I am doing a couple more aggressive rerolls. Again, because we are playing Ranger, I do not mind rerolling somewhat aggressively for more range damage as we go ahead and we'll take an SMG upgrade there and immediately rewarded. I don't think going to Epic, again, you do want to think carefully, because I have had people talk about this in my videos before. You want to think of weapons as tiers: Common 1, Uncommon 2, Epic 3, and Legendary 4. If we go ahead and go into one Legendary item here, we have one Tier 4 weapon and one Tier 1 weapon with a fresh Shredder, which means our average Shredder strength is 2.5. As we currently have an average Shredder strength of 3. Now, as we look into the deeper parts of the run, it may be worth that. It may be very well maybe worth making that upgrade, because it is much easier to find a common weapon and upgrade, increase our overall weapon strength like deeper into the run. That said, it is not necessarily always an auto upgrade. That requires a little bit more game experience and not something that I want you to necessarily stress over. But the point being is it is not always worth combining two weapons into a legendary if you are going to replacing the weapons that, if you're going to be filling the new weapon slots with a common weapon. Again, you are typically weaker there. That said, there are some pretty notable exceptions to that, like when it's something like a screwdriver, where a legendary screwdriver is just straight twice as good as a epic one. So there are situations like that where it is worth doing it. It just depends on what that weapon is, as some weapons are much better at legendary than they are at epic, although some are just simply a little better than they are at epic, and that like a pruner, for example, doesn't get a huge power buff going to epic. So just some things to think about. Again, don't stress about it too much, but I do just want to let the people know that that was an intentional choice. I'm not saying it was the exact right choice, but I am happy we made that decision. Again, probably should have picked up that one's range damage, but I'll take a little bit of armor there. Really do love a dynamite, again, because we are going so heavy into explosives. And again, really like attack speed. I think that just helps keep some of the enemies at bay. So I really am happy with the banner. Again, I don't really care about the negative lifesteal. And I will go ahead and take a Cyclops Worm, as I do think percent damage is quite strong when we have good explosive damage. We are going into our first Horde Wave, and I think this does present like the first true challenge we've faced so far, as Horde Waves on no-hit runs are quite difficult, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. That said, I'm really happy with that boxing glove, as we're seeing it do a great job of keeping these pursuers, which are these armored enemies, away from us. So the nice thing about a boxing glove is when we attack a pursuer with an SMG, they do not actually gain any ground on us, as we see here. That is a really challenging enemy type. In addition, they deal a ton of damage. We're obviously not going to get hit because this is a no-hit run, but pursuers can be a very difficult enemy, and if you're worried about them, finding a boxing glove before wave 11 does make that particular enemy much more manageable. So it is something to keep in mind. Again, we are getting a little hairy here, but you know, again, we're not just gonna cruise into a no-hit run and instantly win. So I do think we will be keeping this at bay. I do think we're doing a no-hit run. One of the hardest things you can run into is a wave 11 Horde Wave, other than like a wave 14 Horde Wave. So the fact we're able to clear that there without too much issue does say that we're on the right way. I don't really care about defense. Again, for the purpose of our run, dodge helps. But again, I don't want to lose 2 range damage for lifesteal because I'm not getting hit. Do love another bandana and love another 3 range damage, putting us at 22. I don't care about lifesteal because we're not going to be taking damage. So I do like a dangerous bunny, which essentially just reads more XP. And we do like more XP. I do think speed is quite valuable. That said, even though I hate losing the luck, we're a little behind on speed. You know, because we're not going to be playing defense, we're not going to be getting more health, so Alien Eyes doesn't quite do anything. Sure, we'll take another dangerous bunny and love a minigun. That will really help our prospects here. So happy to show that. One thing I really hope we do find is something like a handcuffs. Again, I will take that as early as we can because I do not care about my health, right? Because we're not going to get hit. So I do hope we are able to find one of those. But again, we're going to be showing the power of overwhelming offense as we do a great job of keeping these waves clear. Again, what I also like about doing a no-hit run, and part of the reason I do think it's like a valuable exercise for people to try, is you'll have other runs where you're like super far behind, or you like really have to just survive one more wave and then your build will come together. And you take a bunch of damage and you're freaking out, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose. But then you just can kind of take a deep breath and go, oh, I've done an entire run without getting hit. I got this. And we kind of setting yourself there, it really does let you rescue some runs that maybe we're not going to be as successful. So something to keep in mind. Feeling good about where this is. That said, would really love one of those super powerful items, and also would really like a little more luck. I don't love our luck. Again, luck is not like a must-have stat. You don't need luck to win, but I just generally like getting a little bit. But again, here we are, wave 12. Haven't been hit once. Not going to turn away a legendary harvesting, and do love some attack speed, as I do think it is valuable in keeping those enemies at bay. Really do love a minigun here. Minigun pairs very well with the bandana, of which we have 2. So I am quite happy to see that. Don't have a good upgrade into that SMG, so we'll pass on that, but love this SMG. So we can make a decision here. We can either combine to a shredder or just replace this SMG. We will go ahead and just replace the SMG for now. And this is a upgrade I will take. 1 legendary shredder and 1 common shredder. So again, feeling pretty good about where this is here, and love a big arms. We really want to go range, and love a handcuffs. I think with those 2, we will absolutely just steamroll the rest of this run, assuming we can not get hit, which is the big challenge, right? Again, we're sort of about to enter the part of the game where that becomes a little bit more challenging when we get here on wave 13. We will notice on wave 13 that we start seeing more and more projectiles, even if the snake, even if the wizard enemy type has not started spawning. Big thing here are these snakes that sort of have the split attack pattern. We can see them here on the top left. Those enemies are quite strong. They have a lot of health, and it takes a lot of shots to sort of burst them down, and they really are good at restricting your movement. That snake enemy type really ends up putting a bit of like a roadblock on the map, which means with those snakes, it is quite difficult to sort of have as much agility and as much sort of map control as we might without them, simply because we have to allot so many shots to killing them. So again, starting at wave 13 is where your movement does start to get restricted a little bit, so we will be playing just a little bit more carefully here as we really cut back close there. Woo! But again, talking and playing. If I can pull this off commenting, I'll be quite impressed with myself. As I like to say, my dodging goes down by about 50% when I'm commentating a run. But here we are, wave 14. We only have 20 health, and yeah, we're buying the handcuffs. Definitely buying the handcuffs. We'll have to see that. Again, we have no speed. I don't care that I'm at -5 armor, right? Like, I'm not getting hit. So, see ya. I do like a snail a little bit as well. So that's going to ratchet up our range damage all the way to 42 range damage at wave 14, which is quite strong. We even have a 0% damage, which is quite good considering we have taken 2 bandanas. And bandanas are a very good item, but they do give us -20% range damage considering we have 2 of them. So I feel really good about where things are headed. Again, as we are going to sort of retouch on that mechanic that I talked about earlier, where enemies prefer to spawn where enemies currently are not, as they don't like to spawn on other enemies unless we're doing horde waves. Not saying they can't spawn where enemies already are, it's just the game typically will spawn them in open spaces. It's important to talk a little bit about how targeting mechanics work in Brotato. In Brotato, you attack the enemy that you are closest to automatically. So this little lovely Brotato here, this range that's running around, will always attack the enemy closest to them. As we mentioned about the enemy spawns, this is important as oftentimes you do want to do sort of a motion that moves into enemies because we know we'll be attacking those enemies, we know we'll be taking them out, and we know with a good chance the area that we moving into will be clear. Love that attack speed here, and I am quite tempted. We'll go ahead and take a snail. I am quite tempted with this Obliterator. Since we are going into a wave 15 horde wave before a wave 17 late wave, I will actually go ahead and hang on to that Obliterator, pick it up here. Thinking about this, but we don't really need the defense stuff. With all our shredders, I do like a pumpkin. So we do have a wave 15 horde wave going into a wave 17 elite, and I will take that Obliterator as that Obliterator will help a lot on the bosses as well as that next elite. Obliterators are sort of a medium weapon when it comes to clearing normal waves. However, Obliterators are extremely, and I mean extremely strong against bosses and elites, and I do think that will be the more difficult challenges that we have left. So I will be happy to take that, assuming we're able to make it through this wave 15 horde wave, which I do think is a very challenging wave when we're doing a no-hit run, as we will get a lot of enemies spawning on the map that spawn projectiles. I do think projectiles are the most challenging thing to dodge when we're doing a no-hit run, because we can't just like brush one off like, hey, great, whatever, we took a little bit of damage, we got a healing, like that doesn't work here. That just ends our entire run. So I do want to play this just a little carefully. Again, hanging out on the edges of the map, it's all right, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we got our explosives, bang bang bang, but we are going to be leaving a lot of materials on the map because we cannot play quite as aggressively darting in as we might otherwise. I almost don't even think we need a third bandana, which is not something I normally say, so we'll go ahead and pass it. I mean, we have enough, and I do like the percent damage, and I love the 3 range damage here. I almost never pass a bandana on a ranged character. Okay, since we're through some of the harder challenges in the game, I will go ahead and recycle a shredder for an Obliterator, as I do think that Obliterator will help us quite a bit. Of course, now we get a shredder, so okay, that may not have been the smartest thing to do, but we didn't know that was happening. And now I kind of wish I didn't with a plastic explosives, but whatever. You can't always call your shots here. Again, like Obliterator, usually hits for well over 1,000, so we'll kind of see here when we land a shot. Hit for 1644 with a crit, and again, I think that insano single target damage will help quite a bit. Also, really love the sunglasses, giving us a really nice, crit chance of 32, which isn't amazing, but not too shabby. And again, we're really putting this run together. I do think we're strong enough to win relatively easily as long as we don't get hit. We still have a lot of dodging to do, and will we be able to do it? I do, in fact, hope so. But I feel good about it. And I do think things will work out here. Now, one thing you may be saying is, but Sean, I've watched some of your other runs. I see you take defense and lifesteal and dodge and all that stuff all the time. If you're telling me offense is all that matters, why do you take defense? Well, one, I think it's good to have just a layer of security, right? Like, we're not going to be perfect every time, and having a little bit of defense does just make it much more forgiving. However, the reason you want more defense in Brotato is not necessarily to survive. It is so you can play more aggressively. You'll notice doing this no-hit run, we leave a lot, I mean a lot of materials on the map because we have to give our enemies lots of space. If we can get into the middle of our enemies and pick up all those materials and play more aggressively, find more opportunities, we will find ourselves taking a lot more damage innately. So I do think that is an important thing to understand, is that more defense lets us get out on the map more, lets us deal more damage, and all that good stuff. Improved tools at this point is just straight 10% attack speed, so we'll go and do that. So we're going to go here on wave 17 against our very first elite, which will probably one-shot us. But can't touch this. Can't touch this. Can't touch this. 8-second boss kill. Again, showing why a good offense is a good defense, right? Like, we only had to dodge for just a couple seconds, right? That was not super difficult. So again, just showing that we're doing a really good job. We can see how clear the map is, and now we can run around and take all these materials. You will notice in a normal run, I tend to sometimes say like, oh, I played a little aggressively there. What I typically mean by that is I want to do as much damage as possible, and I do think of health as a resource in this game. What that means is if I can put myself in a more aggressive position to kill more enemies and or get materials before the end of the wave so I can spend them immediately, I will be happy to trade off as much of my health as possible to dart around. You're getting an extra 40-50 materials by running to the middle of the map at the end of the wave can be the difference between getting a really powerful item earlier versus getting it one wave later, where you don't have as much time to have its effectiveness help you kill more enemies, get more materials, and again, it's a snowball game. So all things to think about. And again, we're doing no hit. We can't play aggressively, and playing defense is really good because we want to play aggressively. Love a spider here, given that we're using a bunch of different weapons. And again, we are already at negative 15 dodge, so I'll take the free harvesting, even though it's not that much. And love the speed there with a power generator. Again, I don't care about lifesteal because I'm not getting hit. Do love a little crit. Do love a little attack speed, as more attack speed does make it easier to clear some of the things. Don't need any of these. I mean, I don't think Berserker is quite worth it. And again, love a poisonous taunt. Give me crit, give me attack speed, give me range, all that good stuff. I don't care about the lack of HP regen. I'm trying to think, do we have a good upgrade here in the SMGs? I don't really see one. Again, with all the shredders, I do wish I would have dunked the rocket launcher instead. But hey, you can't always call your shots. Love a tentacle. Again, we don't need the healing, but I do want to get our crit a little bit, crit up a little bit, as I do firmly believe that obliterators and crit are really good bedfellows, right? Like, just obliterators are great boss and elite killing weapon, and they really do love crit. So as you can see, those are already critting for well over 2,000, and as we increase our damage, that will get even higher, as we had a really nice 51% or 51 range, which I do think is quite good. Again, wave 18-19, they're challenging, and we got to make it through the bosses, right? So we feel good about things. However, we have much more to go. But I hope this is being a good demonstration of just understanding, like, hey, at this point, we've got so much offense. Dodging is much easier than it was 5 waves ago, because we're able to keep the map clear, and it's a lot easier to dodge when the map is, in fact, clear. So again, hopefully doing a good job of demonstrating why sometimes just focusing a little bit more on offense can make things easy. That said, in a normal run, don't stress about doing a no-hit run, right? Like, I'm doing this intentionally to challenge myself. So you do not have to do this. You can if you want, though. You should give it a try. Don't need any of these. Don't need any of these. Don't need luck at this point. Really got to reroll again. We get that more efficient range damage. So range damage already at 55. Community support, one of the best items we can get when doing a no-hit run, as that will just give us so much more damage. Too late for a bag. With 52% damage, I could probably do the math to figure out how small magazine is actually we're taking there, but I am just going to go ahead and play through because I don't feel like doing that. Don't hit an ugly tooth either, as that will make those bosses just a little bit more manageable. And I do think we have a really good job of killing those bosses without getting hit even once and completing this challenge run. That said, I have lost in wave 20 trying to record this video before, so it is certainly not a guaranteed victory yet. A little bit about me. My name is Sean. I run a channel here called Sean's Here, where we focus on talking about Brotato's mechanics and keeping the run light, cracking some jokes, keeping it funny along the way. Another hallmark of this channel is I really like to keep it moving, right? Like, we keep the action quick, we keep the decisions fast-paced, and we really move the gameplay along. The name Sean's Here is a play on my name Sean, as well as the gaming term S tier. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot to me if you toss me a like, maybe even a subscribe, or potentially even a positive comment. If you're able to do all 3 of those, I will personally be the oracle and bless your next run, so you yourself can dodge around all the bullets, all the projectiles that this angry Brotato world tries to throw at you, as I will be your personal security blanket / guardian angel, or something of that nature. I appreciate you letting me chill, and if you can go ahead and toss me a subscribe, I would be ever so grateful. Now let's go ahead and move into the boss and see if we can actually win. Do love a banner. Again, I don't care about the lifesteal. I'm not getting hit, so he needs to move. Love a dynamite. Sure, I'll take 20% tax fee. I do think that is quite valuable. So again, just see if there's anything here that'll increase our damage by the end of the wave. How about a legendary minigun? Will that work? I think so. So we're going to make a relatively interesting decision here. We're actually going to go ahead and dunk the rocket launcher, grab the minigun. Reason being, even with all our explosive damage, that rocket launcher is not great against the bosses. It is obviously good at clearing waves, but it's not good at killing bosses. That said, we obviously have -9 armor, 21 health. We will instantly die. So we really need to kill these bosses quickly and not get hit. I personally will just kill whatever one is closest to us. I don't really care about which one I have to take out first, as we have enough damage where I think we will be able to do that without too much trouble. If I stop commentating a little bit, it's because I'm focusing on dodging. However, we didn't even need that. Look at that. Easy, baby. That was a fun. No hit run. Didn't get hit even once. That was a blast to do. And again, it only took about 3 or 4 tries here to pull it off while commentating. But again, hopefully in this run, we demonstrate how you can go ahead and build a run and hopefully really emphasize the importance of the best offense being, the best defense, pardon me, being a good offense, and why offense is so important when it comes to playing Brotato. Anyway, really appreciate you watching. Thanks for your time. And as always, take care. Cheers. As lots of enemies start spawning in one hit. But again, just focus on our dodging. A little bit easier, but can't touch.